Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour à tous. I'm pleased to be joined today by Associate Minister Kinga Surma. I just had the honor of introducing the Building Transit Faster Act, which, if passed, would give the province the tools needed to make sure that the 4 priority transit projects are built on time. Je viens d'avoir l'honneur de présenter la loi de 2020 sur la construction plus rapide de transports en commun qui, si elle est adoptée, donnera à la province les outils nécessaires pour s'assurer que les 4 projets prioritaires de transport en commun sont réalisés dans les délais prévus. I know that you've just been walked through the details of the proposed legislation by MTO staff, so I'll keep it brief. I do want to take a moment, though, to thank the staff from MTO for working tirelessly to help identify the roadblocks that cause transit projects to be delayed. Because it's these delays that are so costly. And it's these types of delays that government can help fix. As a result of congestion, we know the GTA loses $11 billion in productivity each year, adds $400 million to the cost of goods, and has a detrimental impact on our environment. Furthermore, construction delays lead to increased project costs, added costs to the taxpayer, and businesses having to close their doors. It is critical that we address our transit capacity as quickly as possible. The legislation I've introduced today is about cutting the unnecessary red tape and redundant steps that hold up major transit projects. As you've heard, we are still going to respect property rights, negotiate in good faith, and treat people fairly. But we're not going to spend 12 months getting permission to remove a tree. If the roadblocks had been removed for the Eglinton Crosstown project, it could have been delivered up to 3 years earlier. As you know, Metrolinx has indicated that the fall of 2021 is no longer achievable. Significant delays under the previous Liberal government and some recent construction complications mean that we are not going to see the line open until 2022. To say that I'm frustrated is an understatement. And I can only imagine how the residents and the businesses along Eglinton feel. But these unacceptable project delays are the main reason that we are introducing legislation today for the 4 priority projects. The people of Toronto cannot afford these kinds of delays, and simply put, we're out of time. Les habitants de Toronto ne peuvent pas se permettre ce genre de retard. Et, pour dire les choses simplement, nous n'avons plus le temps. That is why our government is committed to building a world-class transportation network that will boost economic growth, relieve congestion, and get people to work and home to their loved ones on time. The partnership announced in November between the province and the City of Toronto has finally delivered one single unified plan for subway expansion in Toronto. This important partnership will allow us to achieve our shared goals of addressing congestion and building transit infrastructure quickly and efficiently. Our collaborative efforts will deliver the largest subway expansion in Ontario's history. Our plan is ambitious, but it is attainable. La loi d'aujourd'hui nous rapproche un peu plus de la réalisation de ces métros. Et si elle est adoptée, elle garantira que nous les livrerons plus rapidement et mieux que jamais auparavant. Today's legislation, if passed, brings us one step closer to making these subways a reality. And if passed, it will ensure that we'll deliver them faster and better than ever before. And I'm pleased to answer your questions at this time. Thank you.
Minister, the bill eliminates hearings of necessity for expropriation cases, and we understand from what we were walked through before that it will be replaced with a different process, but that process isn't laid out in the legislation. Why is that not here?
Well, we are streamlining the process, but we're not changing the outcome. We will continue to give people ample opportunity to have their concerns heard, and we will be developing that process. But it's essential that we move forward with this legislation so that we can streamline the process and remove something that has caused a major delay.
Minister, you said that the Crosstown LRT would have been built 3 years earlier had it not been for these roadblocks. Specifically, what in this bill is listed that has caused the LRT to be delayed?
Well, there You were briefed, I'm sure, on the Eglinton Crosstown. So there are a number of issues. What this bill proposes is ways to streamline measures that government is in control of, and things like permitting around the transit corridor, for instance, is a way to coordinate activities between developers and Metrolinx to make sure that those two groups are working together and that their priorities are not, that we're prioritizing transit and people aren't getting in each other's ways. So that is a way that has been a source of delay. In the past, Metrolinx has not known about development activities, and that has caused delay on transit projects in the past.
So that's specific to the crosstown?
That is one example of things on the crosstown.
And so who's going to pay for the delays and cost overruns?
Well, it's delivered by a P3 project, so those costs are borne by CTS. We are by Crosslinks, but the measures that we're introducing today, as I said, are ways to expedite the delivery based on the measures that the province has control over.
But it will be the private.
Yes, that's
section
in
of
the
partnership
P3
will
model.
pay for the
Delays
cost
are
of
paid
it?
for by the private sector proponent.
Minister, I'm wondering how you can promise that the changes that are being made to the expropriation process and the environmental assessment process won't trample on the rights of homeowners or people who have concerns about the environment when it comes to development of these projects.
Well, as I've said, none of the measures that we're proposing today are changing outcomes. They're just streamlining the process and shortening timelines. So with respect to hearings of necessity, the process over land assembly will go from 12 months to 7 months. So there still will be time in that process for people to have their concerns heard and to bring those concerns forward. With respect to the environmental assessment process, environmental protections are not being changed. What's happening is that we are making the processes work concurrently so that we can move forward with essential public transit infrastructure that has been long delayed.
But on that point, though, about the environmental assessments, I mean, is it possible that you get so far into a project that the EA just can't catch up, and then you've got a process that isn't paying attention to the environmental concerns that are raised by the EA?
Look, we are going to be working very closely on the environmental assessment with the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks that's bringing forward a regulation as part of these measures. There will be a consultation process, but the key element is that we're not making any changes to the protection of the environment. What we're doing is we're just changing the process, streamlining it, so things that normally happen one after the other can now happen concurrently so that we can expedite that process.
When you say there's a process for people to have their concerns heard, are you committing to a timeline on when you will have that process in place? And are you committing to the fact that it'll happen before any of these expropriations go about?
Certainly before any of the land assembly happens, those processes will be in place, and we want to make sure that we provide people with a fulsome opportunity to have their voices heard. But we are changing the process by getting rid of the hearings of necessity. The process will go from what normally, on average, takes about 12 months down to 7 months. So there still is an opportunity for people to have their voices heard and to bring those complaints forward.
The last budget had a higher level of delay written in to the cost estimates for these projects. Given that you're introducing a bill that's going to bring in those delays, does your budget need to grow? And by how
No,
much?
our budget for our priority transit projects remains the same. What the measures proposed today do is provide a way forward with a more streamlined processes. So, and a lot of these processes or measures that we're proposing today exist for the construction of highways, and some of them are meant to be used as backstop measures. We're looking to use existing measures in place and negotiate with landowners, for instance. What we're trying to do is find ways to simply streamline the process. And that in that way reduces costs. But we're just focused on trying to find ways to expedite the process.
But can you stick with that justification of your budget that had higher delays written into it?
The purpose of these measures is to help ensure that the costs don't escalate over time. We want to make sure that we are working within the budget that we have stated, and that's what these measures do.
Just to have you, just wondering about something else that's going on with transit, the ongoing rail blockade by Indigenous leaders. Are you concerned that that could expand to GO Transit, to affecting other areas of transportation in the province? And would you want to see the OPP called in if that was the case? Because the Prime Minister says, obviously, this can be resolved through dialogue, but Andrew Scheer disagrees with that.
Obviously, I'm concerned about the blockades and the impacts of the blockades, as I know so many people are. I attended the FPT last week in Toronto with Minister Garneau, the Federal Minister of Transportation, and expressed my view and our government's view that the federal government needed to show leadership. I was pleased to see that the Prime Minister returned from overseas to provide that leadership, but we need the federal government to dialogue and find a way to very quickly expedite to bring an end to this process, bring an end to the blockades.
Why can't the OPP be called in?
Well, the OPP is there, and a court order has been issued, but as you know, it would be inappropriate for a government to direct the OPP. The OPP is there following their protocols that are in place.
But it's resolved through dialogue, though, as Prime Minister Trudeau has stated, because, I mean, we're into what, week 2 now, I think it is.
Yeah, and we're hopeful that this can be resolved peacefully, and we know that the OPP are following their protocols that they have in place.
The Hamilton Transit Task Force, why is it operating with such a shroud of secrecy over it? And will you commit to releasing any report that the task force gives you? And when will you release that?
Well, the Hamilton Task Force is working expeditiously. They've got a short time frame. They're working, examining a lot of options that have already been in the public domain. They're being supported by the Ministry of Transportation that's acting as a secretariat. And so they're working expeditiously to deliver recommendations to the province that we'll then have an opportunity to review. Our commitment to the City of Hamilton has been to invest $1 billion in new financing directly into the city for transit and transportation infrastructure, and those recommendations will inform that. And so we look forward to moving forward with that, so that we can start building in the city of Hamilton as quickly as we can. Once we've received those recommendations, and people in Hamilton will know once we're making those investments what they are.
Public the report that showed that you said showed that the cost of that LRT in Hamilton had risen to $5.5 billion.
We have released as much as we can, because it's commercially sensitive information. We have released as much as we can.
There's literally no detail to explain why you're $90 million short, that would all of a sudden blow up to $2 billion short.
I think everyone assumed that the cost of the Hamilton LRT was going to be $1 billion. It's what our party had.
Over 30 years, it was 3.65. That was what was budgeted for. You've said it jumped to 5.5. We would like to see those numbers, some actual justification, real numbers, not just it's inflated.
Yeah, and the numbers that we provided late last year are numbers that were provided to us through an expert commissioned by MTO and Infrastructure Ontario that did a lot of analysis and provided a summary with the most with as fulsome information as we could provide, because, as you know, it's commercially sensitive information. The issue here was that the Liberals weren't upfront about the escalating costs. We all believe the cost of the Hamilton LRT was going to be $1 billion. In fact, it was much, much more expensive. But we stand by our commitment to Hamilton that we will invest $1 billion of new funding into the city. We're looking forward to receiving the recommendations from the report so that we can determine the best way forward.
There's no activities. How could it be commercially sensitive at this point? It's been a canceled project. Surely you can let the people know or show some justification how it went from 6.35 or 2.35 to 5.5.
Look, we have been upfront. We have said that we will invest $1 billion. We were under the impression, as were most people, based on what the Liberals had said, that the cost was $1 billion, and it had escalated significantly. We have provided publicly the most information that we can based on the experts' report, but we are standing by our commitment to invest $1 billion in the city of Hamilton.
Going across the Crosstown project, Metrolinx says that a significant cause of delays there is discovery of defective infrastructure beneath Eglinton subway station that predates this project by decades. Is there anything in your legislation that would have addressed that kind of issue?
I wish we could find ways to solve those kinds of issues, but we can't. The measures that we propose today are just meant to address things that are within government's control. But as you pointed out, there were other issues as well with respect to the Eglinton Crosstown that caused the delay, including some old infrastructure that had not been foreseen. But we're doing what we can within our power, which is what people expect. We've put forward an ambitious plan for transit, but I think that these measures are reasonable, and I think people are expecting us to do this so that we can actually finally get shovels in the ground, because transportation infrastructure building in this city has lagged other major cities around the world.
How can you say that it would have sped up the project by 3 years if it wouldn't have addressed it?
Well, the measures that we've provided that we're outlining today, which if passed, our estimates is that combined that they would save 3 years that they will save 3 years and would have saved 3 years on Eglinton Crosstown. With major engineering issues or old infrastructure issues aside.
Mr. Minister, do you know at what point your government is going to have a better idea of exactly where the Ontario line runs? Because you're going to have to expropriate a lot of properties, we assume. At what point, or how close is your government to knowing exactly what that finalized route is going to look like?
Metrolinx is still going through the public consultation process, and we want to take the time to hear from residents and stakeholders about their concerns. So they're doing that refining. I don't have a date. I hope to have one soon, but they're doing that consultation process, and it should not be rushed. So once that's complete, then we'll have a better idea of the alignment.
Just to follow up, we don't have all of the funding required yet from the federal government, right, for these 4 transit projects?
No, we don't. And thank you very much for the question, because I would actually like to take the opportunity to remind the federal government that they made a commitment during the election to support our 4 priority transit projects that had the support of the City of Toronto, and we're looking for confirmation of their support.
So last April, Premier Doug Ford had said that if we do not get any of that money, that he's willing to backstop it ourselves, that Ontario would pay for the entire $30 billion bill. Mm-hmm. Is the government still willing to put up all of that money if the federal government doesn't put up its share of the commitment?
Well, we've found a way forward with our partnership with the City of Toronto, and as I mentioned, during the federal election, the government indicated that they fully supported our plan as well. So I'm going to hold them to their word, and I look forward to getting confirmation that they will support, that they will fully fund their 40% share of our transit projects.
What about the Premier's word? He said that he was willing to bankroll the entire project, or the province was willing to bankroll the entire project because it was a priority, the 4 transit projects. Is the government still willing to do that if that money doesn't materialize from the federal government?
Well, we've found a way forward that with our partners, the City of Toronto and the federal government, we can share the costs of the project. And the federal government is very clear during the election that they supported our plan, and we are waiting for confirmation from them. And I raised it with Minister Garneau last week, and I hope that I think Minister Scott will be meeting with Minister McKenna shortly, and I'm sure she'll have the opportunity to remind them of their commitment at that time too.
Comment pouvez-vous être certaine qu'il n'y aura pas d'excès, qu'il n'y aura pas d'abus avec ce nouveau projet de loi, avec toutes les mesures qui sont comprises? Puis qu'est-ce que vous pouvez dire pour rassurer les citoyens qu'il n'y aura pas d'expropriation qui ne sont pas nécessaires, ou qu'on ne coupera pas des centaines d'arbres sans raison?
Écoutez, pour le corridor, on va prendre des mesures qui sont raisonnables. On va faire, on veut que tout soit raisonnable. Pour le regroupement des terrains nécessaires, on va être judicieux dans ces décisions-là. Bien sûr, dans tous les projets d'infrastructure, il y a des expropriations qui se font, mais nous allons être très judicieux dans ces décisions-là. Metrolinx le sera.
Minister, just questions back to the process of it. There are going to be people who live along the Ontario line who don't like it. They don't like having an elevated line. They won't like it above ground. They won't like the noise. Do you commit, even with this streamlined EA, to hearing the government will hear their concerns and possibly alter its plans if it can? I mean, is that still part of the process?
Well, Metrolinx is conducting a series of consultations on a regular basis in communities along the proposed route. And we're hearing about that feedback, and we're listening to concerns and taking that feedback. But moving forward, today is about finding ways to ensure that once we are ready with our final alignment, that we can get shovels in the ground as quickly as possible.
The other tower in there that caught my eye is this: you'll be able to override municipalities if there's a dispute about right-of-way access or permits or servicing. I mean, that strikes me as. Why would a municipality refuse to hook up a subway station to sewer pipes? That would be in a situation where you were in a fight with Toronto or York Region over this project going ahead at all, isn't it?
Yeah, and we share our priority. We're working very well together, and our priorities are aligned. And this measure is a backstop measure in the event of an impasse. But we've been working very well with the City of Toronto. MTO staff and city staff have been collaborating on this project, and so we intend to always go to negotiate well, amicably, and find an amicable resolution to any issue. But this is meant as a backstop measure. But I can tell you, it's certainly our preference that we don't need to use that.
Doesn't it change the tenor of a negotiation with the city saying, don't worry, we're listening to you, but by the way, if we disagree with you, we're just going to sign this piece of paper and do whatever we want?
No, and I think that what it shows to the private sector proponents that we are taking steps necessary in the event of an impasse. But people didn't think that the province and the city were going to agree on transit. We did, and we're going to continue to work collaboratively so that we can get these lines built, which is a shared priority for all of us.
Oh, just one last thing. This only applies to 4 transit projects. Why didn't you want to apply it to every transit project across the province? Are those not priorities as well?
Well, these are new priority projects that our government has introduced. We wanted to narrowly scope them. We're taking feedback, and we believe that they will help expedite timelines so that we can meet the schedules that we have set. But we wanted to proceed in a narrowly scoped way with respect to the projects that we have proposed.
Can this be applied to future transit projects, or is it just these 4 and done?
Well, we already have quite an ambitious plan that's proposed, so they will apply to just those 4 lines. We may be able to use something in the future, but that would be hypothetical. At this point, we just want to use them for our 4 priority projects.
Justement, si ça fonctionne avec les 4 lignes à Toronto, est-ce que dans l'avenir, on pourrait réutiliser ces mêmes mesures-là ou prolonger?
Je ne sais pas, je ne peux pas dire ce qui va se passer ou ne va pas se passer dans l'avenir. Peut-être, nous savons que ces mesures que nous proposons sont raisonnables et vont nous permettre d'atteindre les délais que nous avons prévus et sont essentiels pour achever cet objectif.
Raisonnables, pourquoi ne pas les rendre permanentes? Parce
que maintenant, nous avons proposé ces 4 projets prioritaires et nous avons besoin de ces mesures pour, comme j'ai dit, achever les délais prévus et c'est ce qui est nécessaire pour l'instant.
A question from us colleagues. How can Toronto trust you to get any of your new transit projects done on schedule if you can't even get one done on time?
Are you referring to the Eglinton Crosstown? That was a legacy project, obviously, that has been in the works for a number of years. I share, and our government shares, the frustration of people living along the line. If the province, as I've said, if the province had these measures in place, we would Eglinton Crosstown could have been open. The timeline could have been moved up, and it could have been open sooner. But I think that we have unveiled a plan that is, as I said, ambitious. It has the support of Toronto City Council. Toronto City Council approved a motion 24-1 in favor of finding measures to accelerate the delivery of transit. That's what this does. So I don't know, these were not proposed by previous governments. This is our government's proposal on how to move forward so that we can deliver on ours and to do so in the timelines that we have stated. And I think that they're reasonable and necessary, and I hope that all members of the legislature will support them.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you. Merci.